Hi, I'm Bee, the passionate cook.
Hi, I'm Vernita, the reluctant cook.
And this is Pinch-Done, Cooking with Friends. Our goal is to educate and inspire you with flavorful recipes and stories of exceptional achievement from our guests. So gather around your table, relax, and get prepared to feed your mind, body, and soul. Remember, Pinch-Done is more than a cookie. Welcome to this episode of Cooking with Friends. I have the pleasure of having Chef Tim Sadler in my kitchen today. Chef Tim is the owner of a wonderful seasoning mix, and so I'm going to be herb dusting today with Chef Tim. Chef Tim and I met when he was a judge for me when I was in a cooking contest and I got second place, and he really encouraged me because that is one of the things that we really want to do is give you these stories of encouragement, and through cooking we're just going to fellowship and have fun. So Chef Tim, why don't you tell the audience something about your herb dusting?
Well, my herb dust is all natural. I have 3 different flavors, and it was created during a cooking demonstration. Someone asked me a question of how could they season their food without salt, and so that's where the herb dust seasoning came from, and I just made some other flavors to go with it.
And so how many flavors do you have?
I have 3 flavors. I have the original, which is just like Mrs. Dash, but it's better. I have the lemon herb, and I have blackened herb.
Oh, okay. So today we're going to use the lemon herb because today for you on our Cooking with Friends episode, we are preparing for you a dill seed salmon that's going to be baked in the oven, some rosemary and lemon baby Yukon Gold potatoes, and Swiss chard that's going to be sauteed with garlic and bell peppers. So it's all about healthy eating, as Chef Tim has said, because some of us need to watch that blood pressure, or we just want to do a different kind of lifestyle. We want to live for a long time and be healthy. So we want to encourage you to adopt that kind of lifestyle also. So today is all about cooking with friends, so let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is with this beautiful salmon fillet, we're going to pat it down because we want it dry, and I always rinse it off and then pat it down dry because when we're seasoning, we want everything to adhere to the meats, and sometimes we don't pat it dry, and especially if you're frying your meat or putting it in a pan, you want it to crisp up. That's the whole purpose, right? Well, patting it dry can help with that process. So we want to give it a good pat. And that's it. And this is a filet with the skin on. Now, this is the messiest part about this salmon dish. And some people look at this part of the dish and go like, I don't want any parts of it. But trust me, if you just need to put some gloves on, then put some gloves on. One of our ingredients is mayonnaise. And I'm going to put mayonnaise directly onto the fish. Yes, that is what I'm doing. And Chef Tim is laughing. No, he's just like, now this is going to be messy. So I'm not going to ask Chef Tim to do this. I'm going to do this. And it's going to require that I wash my hands immediately. But I'm just going to slather this mayo on to the fish. And the reason for doing this is going to help the fish stay moist. It's going to add some extra flavor. I am using a regular mayo. Okay, so like I said, that's the worst part of it, is the dirty part, but somebody's got to do it. And so that baby is all slathered down with that mayo. And now Chef Tim is going to assist me in putting some herbs on there. We're just going to herb dust this baby together, okay? So what I have here are some dill seed. And Chef Tim, could you do the honors and just sprinkle about? There's never such a thing as too much seasoning, too much fresh herbs on those menu items that we prepare at home. So that's looking good. Don't be stingy, Chef Tim.
You want me to put it
like
on
you're
it?
doing your herb dust. You know how we do it.
All right.
All right. So now we're going to use Chef Tim's lemon herb dust, perfect for the fish. So we have the lemon, we have the dill, And he's going to give that a good dust and see how he's so liberal now with that herb dusting, because this is his home plate right here. And notice I'm not adding any salt or to this because we really don't need it. Just a little bit of the cayenne pepper here. Now you can, of course, not do the cayenne pepper because some people say cayenne pepper, that's a little bit too much heat for me. And when we do recipes in our kitchen, we are just encouraging you to get new ideas about food. And so delete, omit, add, subtract, it's all up to you. But this is a day that you're going to get some great ideas. All right, now that we have this, I want to add some fresh dill to this. And so I've got my herbs from the garden. And we do encourage everyone to have some type of herb garden. And if it was the right time of the year, this would be my dill seeds right there, but not just yet. And I have some herb scissors, Chef Tim with the green handle right there. And so this kind of beats that old-fashioned way. Even I impressed the chef today.
Learning something new.
And so when this is coming out of the oven, I'll just add some more dill to this because the fresh dill is always good. So we're just gonna set that right there because we'll be using that a little later. This fish is ready to go into the oven just like that. As our cookbook says, pinch, dash, done. So here we go. We're gonna transfer this to our pan right here. Perfect pan for the salmon. I'm going to add a little olive oil because this salmon does have the skin on. Pan's getting ready to go in one more time. And just make sure that I coat that pan so that we don't get too much of that skin sticking to the pan. And I'm just going to transfer the salmon to the pan. Thank you, Chef. And so as we put that into the oven, we're going to get ready. And now we're going to show you how to do some roasted potatoes with lemon and rosemary. So that's what's coming up next. But let's get this puppy into the oven, 400 degrees for 20 minutes. So now that the salmon is in the oven baking at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes, we're going to now do some baby Yukon potatoes with lemon and rosemary and maybe a little hit of garlic in there also. So Chef Tim, baby Yukon potatoes, do you use them a lot?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
I like to try different potatoes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you like the sweet potatoes roasted?
Yes, I do.
Me too. I was torn between sweet potatoes and the baby Yukon potatoes, but because we're doing the fish, and usually when people do fish, they have rice because they want something a little light. And so I chose the baby Yukon potatoes because you can have small servings because the potatoes are so small. So just maybe 2 or 3 potatoes on a plate might be enough for some people and keep it light. But at any rate, today it's all about lemon juice added to this, which is something a little different, huh? Yeah, it's a little different. So, Chef, could you please slice that lemon for me?
You want it in half or slice it?
In half. And we're going to juice it right there. So nice to have help in the kitchen. And I'm pretty sure somebody's watching and say, I need a Chef Tim in my life. But today is all about cooking with friends, and so I really appreciate Chef Tim being here. While he's doing that, I'm just going to slice some pieces of butter. And there's really no wrong way to do this, just enough butter. I don't have a lot of potatoes in here. I'm not going to add any salt to this because I'm using salted butter. No. That's something that I learned to do. If I'm going to use salted butter, there's no need to add additional salt. The butter has enough salt. So if you could pour the lemon juice.
Do I open it?
Oh yeah, twist it off. New gadget, and just pour it on there.
All of it?
All of it.
Oh, wow.
And then when we serve it, we can squeeze a little bit more lemon juice to it. And the lemon juice also is a good substitute for salt. So if you're missing that salt flavor, remember lemon juice is also something that you can do. We're going to use a little bit of salt and pepper. And I've got my, well, no, we don't want salt on here because I'm using the salted butter. I just want some pepper. So the pepper grinder is over there. Chef Tim, please, sir.
Yes.
All right. So we're just going to hit it with the pepper. Now, I love pepper. And the pepper is something that you add or subtract to your liking. And when this comes out of the oven, guess what? I'm going to add some more pepper. And I'll probably throw some red pepper on there too. So when I go to the restaurants and they come out with the salad and they have the big long pepper grinders and they'll say pepper and I go like, and I'll tell you when to stop. And so they'll be like, they'll get their exercise with me and I say, keep going. I didn't say stop. And I said, I like to smell the pepper. So I'm a pepper girl. I'm from San Antonio, Texas. So what can I say? All right. So we've got that. And to this, we're going to add some rosemary. And so in my little bouquet from the garden, I have some fresh rosemary sprigs. There we go. And this time, I'm just going to thread the rosemary.
Keep it whole.
Yep, keep it whole. And you know something that I learned a long time ago, and this is what happens when you spend way too much time in the kitchen. The stems from the rosemary, I do not throw them away. If I am cooking beef, chicken, or pork, I will take the stems and insert the stems directly into the meat, and then it just infuses the flavor throughout the meat. How about that for a cooking tip? Chef Tim is over here. He's going to steal my secrets, y'all. But I'm sharing my secrets with the world because that's what this is all about. Food, fun, and fellowship, sharing ideas and techniques because we really want, families to come back together around the dining table and trade recipes, trade secrets, because there is nothing worse in the world than longing for that dish that grandma or an uncle or a friend used to make, and they have passed on and they did not pass on that recipe to you. Because I still want some of my grandmother's food. And actually, when we were cleaning out the house after my aunt passed away last year, guess what we found? A recipe box with over 200 recipe cards that my grandmother had handwritten.
Wow.
And we had never seen before. So we found that. So that's going to take us a while to go through. But so everything is not gone. She did leave us some things behind. So for those of you that are watching, start thinking about some of those favorite recipes that you have and that you have friends or family that are making some things. Get it written down and get in the kitchen with them, because sometimes we have the recipe on paper, but you cook with love, honey, and then there are always a little extra things. And if you're like me, when I first started cooking, I didn't write anything down because I didn't measure. And so you got to get in the kitchen with people like me because I tend not to measure. But now that I've written a cookbook, I have to measure. So this is ready to go into the oven. The amount of time in the oven, I would say about 30 minutes, but it all depends on the size of the potatoes. And so it's just going to stay in there. I could cover it with some foil or with a lid, but I'm going to choose not to. I'm just going to check on it from time to time and let it roast, because I'd like some of that liquid to really evaporate and absorb. So this is ready to go into the oven, and then we're going to do our Swiss chard. All right, so now that the potatoes are in the oven, the salmon is in the oven, it's time for something green. You know, when we think about food, we also think about color in this kitchen. And the colors of the rainbow are what we try to incorporate into our food with every meal. Because the more colorful your plate, the healthier it is. When you think about green, think about detoxing, because that's why when many of us detox or do those kinds of things for our body, you're really going to eat more greens or you drink make juices that are green. So we have Swiss chard. Swiss chard is a vegetable I think that is so overlooked, and maybe some people are intimidated by it. And the other thing about the poor Swiss chard is many times it's used in planting beds as an ornament, not as a food. So you see lots of gardens where you see Swiss chard growing because we have green chard, we have the white stem, we have the red stem, and I couldn't find any yellow this time, but there is a yellow. It has this beautiful vein that goes through it, and people look at it and go, oh, that looks good in the garden. But Swiss chard has so many healthy benefits. If you're diabetic, it's good for you. If you have high blood pressure, it's good for you. There have been studies about Swiss chard, and I encourage you to do some research on it. It's got a lot of healthy benefits. So we think about the rainbow. I'm also using some of the mini peppers because sometimes in a dish I don't need the whole bell pepper,
Right.
and I end up wasting it. Used to, but now I know if I don't use it all, I'll freeze it. I'll cut it up, dice it up, freeze it, use it in soups or something like that. But for dishes like this where I don't need a lot, I just choose to buy the small bag like this. I usually use these in salads, but something like this today, it's perfect. So this chard has already been washed, and I'm just going to slice it into some ribbons, much like you would do collard greens. But with the collard greens, because they're a little bit tougher, you roll them, you slice them really thin, and you really don't want the stems. But Swiss chard is gonna cook down. It is very tender. It's much like spinach. It cooks very quickly. And so while it may look like I have a lot of chard, it's not gonna be a lot when it cooks down. So I am going to discard this bottom part. Chef Tim, could you just put that in the waste bucket down there? Thank you so much. And sometimes, depending on what I'm feeling like and what else I'm cooking, I will also add a little bit of chicken broth as a liquid, not a lot, just a little, to the Swiss chard to just give it a little bit more flavor. But not today. Don't need to do that today. But I just wanted to throw that idea out there for you guys. So as you can see right now, this looks like a lot of Swiss chard, but it's going to cook down substantially. So I'm going to get my pan. I'm going to add some olive oil to the pan. I'm also going to put my Swiss chard in. I'm going to add a little bit more chard into that in just a moment. Turn the heat down just a bit. With my peppers, I don't want them overdone, and so I'm just going to slice them. And that's the other thing I like about these. There's not a whole lot of prep work that goes into slicing these because they're so small already. I don't want them overcooked, but I do want them just a little tender. These peppers are sweet. Because many times we think about peppers, we think about the green bell peppers. They tend to be a little bitter. And maybe one more, the yellow one. Again, getting all my colors of the rainbow in. And I'm going to add to this some garlic. And I'm using garlic paste. I could use fresh garlic, but garlic, if you overcook it, it burns very quickly, and so the garlic paste gives me a good option. Now, as you can see, this Swiss chard is already cooking down, so what I'm going to do is now cut the rest into ribbons, and then I'm going to cover my pan
So is there different tastes and different colors of the Swiss chard?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Chef. No, it just has different color. It just has different color. When I first began eating Swiss chard, the red is usually available. And then I began to really look for stores that would carry the other colors, the yellow and the white chard. But I think over the last maybe 5 to 6 years, what I've noticed is that more vendors or more grocery stores are carrying they'll package it and call it rainbow chard. But it's the same thing. So we can just cover this. If you want to add a little butter to it, you can. I don't need that right now. And we're just going to discard that. And so today, we got a real healthy meal. We have salmon, we have the Swiss chard, and we have those roasted potatoes. Now, the Yukon Gold potatoes are also used instead of the white potatoes because they have less starch. So if you're looking at your carb count, then those are better potatoes to use for those of you that are interested in doing that. And of course, the sweet potato, if you're going to do a potato, that's really the best one to use. But I wanted to mix it up a little bit today. Right. So we got this going. I can turn that heat up just a little bit because that's covered. And when everything comes out of the oven, we're going to plate it up and show you what the finished product looks like. So, Chef Tim, what do you think about this meal?
Oh, I love it. It sounds like it's healthy and it's southern. And you can smell it without, not a lot of ingredients. And so, it smells good.
This was actually not a whole lot of prep work either. Very quick. I guess the messiest thing or the most work was getting that mayonnaise on that salmon. And you said you never thought about putting that mayonnaise on there. And I know that there are some of you out there that say, well, I don't like salmon. You could do the same thing with cod or any type of fish, and a white fish. And also, some people don't like the fishiness of salmon, but the sockeye salmon, for me, is the one that tastes really fishy. And so I tend not to buy the sockeye salmon because for me it tastes a little bit fishy. But I love salmon, and salmon is so good for us. It's got all those omega-3s. So as you are watching today, remember Cooking with Friends, and we're encouraging you, have conversations like we are, sharing tips and ideas about food, because it's all about food, fellowship, and fun, back into the kitchen and getting us talking and loving on one another through food. So Chef Tim, it's time to get those things out of the oven.
All right.
The finishing touches, and look at that chef going to work with plating this and making it pretty. We eat not only with our taste buds, but we also eat with our smell, our sense of smell, and definitely with our eyes. And that's why we want a colorful plate, because it draws the eye in and the smell brings you in, and then it's like I'm ready to bite into that. Chef Tim, what do you think about our creation today?
It's almost too pretty to eat.
You're right, but the key word there was almost, because we're going to eat this. Well, we have our Swiss chard, so we're going to plate this up. And I told you that Swiss chard was going to cook down. It looked like it was a whole lot of Swiss chard going on, but it really wasn't. We have our lemon, rosemary potatoes. And again, maybe 3 to 4 potatoes for a serving. It all depends on you and what you're really trying to accomplish with your diet. And then we have, oh my gosh. Okay. Chef Tim, what part of the salmon would you like, or the whole thing?
Or at least half of it.
At least half of it, okay. Now the nice thing about salmon is it is a tender fish. It's a delicate fish. And there we go. Wow. Perfect.
It's perfect.
Perfect. All right, Chef Tim, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, bon appetit and pinch, dash, and done.
If you are interested in having these recipes in your culinary closet, please visit our website, pinch-done.com, to order either cookbook number 1 or cookbook number 2 today. We appreciate you. Happy cooking.